In Knights of the Zodiac, we've always had a strong emphasis on the power of the ice-based saints, with lengthy explanations about how their attacks work and what temperatures they can reach. However, unlike the ice-based saints, the fire-based saints never had a detailed explanation for their abilities, but even so, they remain powerful warriors within the story. Hello, Knights and Amazons, how are you all doing? Welcome to the Semperquist Saber channel. I'm Wes, and in today's video, I'm going to show you 4 legendary knights who have fire powers in Knights of the Zodiac. Comment who you think will be on this list, and don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and enjoy the video. Knight number 1, Centaur Babel. It's time to talk about a warrior whose loyalty to the sanctuary was so great that he was manipulated to his death because of it, Centaur Babel. Babel wears the silver centaur cloth, a constellation based on the creature from Greek mythology that has the upper body of a man and the body of a horse. Famous for its brute strength and hunting skills, often associated with the wise centaur Chiron, Babel lives up to this legend, being a physically imposing, fast, and relentless warrior. Unlike other knights, silver saints, who used mental powers or physical weapons, Babel's Cosmo converts air friction into extremely powerful flames, creating fireballs that can incinerate the enemy in seconds. Babel's story has drastic and very interesting differences when we compare the original manga and the classic anime. In Masami Kurumada's manga, Babel appears on a deserted beach right after the destruction of Mount Fuji, which in the manga is the location of the battles against the Black Saints. He corners the Bronze Saints and shows terrifying power. His signature technique, the Flame Whirlwind, creates a firestorm that's almost impossible to escape. The direct confrontation happens between Babel's fire and Cygnus Hyoga's ice, resulting in one of the most classic elemental battles in the series. Hyoga's cold air ends up overcoming Babel's heat, freezing the flames and mercilessly defeating the Silver Saint. In the anime, however, things take a much more dramatic and emotional turn. Babel attacks the Bronze Saints in the ruins of the Grodd Foundation Colosseum. During the fight, he once again faces other Bronze Saints, and the battle also involves interference from the Steel Saints. Cho's Skycloth absorbs Babel's fire, leaving him open for Hyoga to use the Aurora Thunder attack and win the fight. But it's the scene of Babel's death in the anime that makes us deeply respect him. Defeated and on the verge of death, Babel is approached by Saori Kido. She emanates Athena's divine Cosmo. And in that moment, the Silver Saint realizes the terrible mistake he had made. He wasn't fighting against traitors. Instead, he tried to kill the goddess he had sworn to protect since childhood. In a heartbreaking scene, Babel reaches out his hand, cries in regret, and feels the comforting warmth of Athena's Cosmo, dying in peace in the goddess's arms. Years later, in the epic Hades saga, Babel proves his worth once again by returning as a specter revived by the god of the underworld. However, his intentions were pure. He, along with the other Silver Saints, pretended to betray Athena only to see how much the Bronze Saints had grown, sacrificing his own soul for justice and showing that the fire of hope had never been extinguished in his heart. Number 2, Souma of Leo Minor. Leaving the classic era and making a time jump to the new generation, we arrive at the series Saint Seiya Omega, a work that divided opinions but brought fascinating concepts to the franchise. And it's impossible to talk about fire without mentioning the most explosive warrior of this new era, Souma, the Bronze Saint of Leo Minor. In Saint Seiya Omega, Cosmo energy is reorganized into a system of natural elements: fire, wind, thunder, earth, water, light, and darkness. As the character's name and nature already reveal, Souma's element is fire. The Leo Minor armor he wears has a long history. In the classic series, it belonged to Ban, who didn't get much attention and was quickly defeated in the Galaxian Wars. But with Souma, the constellation gained the respect and glory it deserved. Souma is introduced as the best friend of Kuga, the new Pegasus Saint. He has an extremely cheerful, energetic, and sometimes hot-tempered personality. After all, the fire element dictates his temperament. But behind all this good cheer and smiles, Souma carries a very deep emotional scar. One of the best crafted revenge stories in Omega, Souma's father was Kazuma, the powerful Silver Saint of the Southern Cross. During Souma's childhood, Kazuma was brutally murdered in front of his son by Sonya of Wasp, a high-ranking warrior of Mars's army, the god of war and main villain of the first season. Since that day, Souma's fire has burned not only for justice, but also for an unrelenting thirst for revenge. Souma's character development arc is spectacular. His techniques, like the flaming fist and the iconic lionette bomber, which is a direct homage to Ban's technique from the classic series, become more and more powerful as he matures. The climax of his journey happens during the Battle of the 12 Houses, the Omega version. In the House of Scorpio, he finally confronts Sonya, who had been promoted to Gold Saint of Scorpio. Instead of a blind battle for revenge, the fight becomes an emotional rescue. Souma realizes that Sonya was also a victim of circumstances, a girl destroyed by the cruel expectations of her own father, Mars. Sonya's Cosmo goes out of control, and the gold cloth begins to consume her with uncontrollable power. In an act of pure altruism, he proves that he is a true saint of Athena. Souma abandons revenge and embraces Sonya amidst the flames that were destroying her body, trying to save her by using his own fire to try to balance the scorching heat of the gold cloth. Unfortunately, Sonya doesn't survive, but she dies finding peace for the first time, all thanks to Suma's burning empathy. In the second season of Omega, we see the result of this maturity. Souma becomes one of the pillars of the new generation of saints, even awakening the Omega Cosmo in his final armor. Night number 3, Phoenix Ikki. You can't talk about flames, fire, hell, and absolute power in the universe of Saint Seiya without revering the greatest of all, the lone wolf, the anti-hero who defined an entire generation of fans, the man who crawled back from hell using only the strength of his hatred and his hidden love, and Ikki, the Bronze Knight of Phoenix. Among all the knights in Athena's army, the Phoenix armor is a mythological anomaly. Since the Age of the Gods for millennia, the Phoenix armor has rested on Death Queen Island, a place that Kurumada literally describes as hell on earth. Rain of fire, rivers of lava, ashes covering the sky, and the total absence of hope. For centuries, no man was able to raise his Cosmo to the level necessary to tame this armor, because it required a host whose spirit burned hotter than the very fire of the underworld. Until Ikki arrived. Ikki's story is the heaviest of all the Bronze Saints. He was sent to Death Queen Island in place of his brother Shun, taking on the burden of training that consisted of daily torture. His master, the enigmatic Gyut, beat him relentlessly, teaching that the only real strength in the universe was hatred. The only light in Ikki's life during those hellish years was Esmeralda, a young local slave in the manga and Gyut's daughter in the anime, with whom Ikki fell deeply in love. But tragedy was marked in the destiny of the immortal bird. In the final battle against his own master, Gyut delivers a ruthless blow that either accidentally or out of pure cruelty strikes and kills Esmeralda. Upon seeing Esmeralda, the woman he loved lying lifeless in his arms, Ikki's sanity shatters. Love and kindness die, giving way to an explosion of dark and blazing cosmos. Ikki pierces his master's chest, killing him mercilessly, and finally awakens the sacred Phoenix armor, proclaiming himself the leader of the Black Knights. When Ikki makes his debut in the Galactic War, stealing the Sagittarius gold armor, he presents himself as an absolutely terrifying villain. His flames do not only burn the physical body, but also incinerate the spirit. His Phoenix Phantom Strike attacks the opponent's central nervous system directly, creating terrifying illusions that destroy the victim's mind from the inside out, leaving behind a trail of irreparable madness. As for his ultimate physical attack, the Phoenix Bird, it creates a flaming gust of wind in the shape of the mythological bird, with impact power strong enough to crack armor. But what makes Ikki the most legendary fire user isn't just his attacks, but the unique characteristic of his armor. The Phoenix armor is unique among all 88 armors, surpassing even the gold armors with the power of absolute resurrection. It doesn't matter if it was cracked, shattered, turned to ashes, or reduced to elemental molecules. When Ikki's Cosmo rises, the armor is reborn from its own ashes, stronger, brighter, and hotter than before. After being defeated by the combined efforts of Seiya, Shiryu, Yoga, and Shun, Ikki regains his humanity and becomes Athena's hidden trump card. He doesn't travel with the group, he prefers solitude, but as soon as his brother Shun is in real danger, or the knights are on the verge of total annihilation, the beating of incandescent wings echoes across the battlefield. Ikki's feats defy logic. He was able to face the Gold Saint of Virgo, Shaka, considered the man closest to God. In an act of pure sacrifice, Ikki allowed himself to be deprived of his 6 senses, just to gather enough Cosmo to explode along with Shaka, dragging the Gold Saint into another dimension. He faced marine generals like Canon of Sea Dragon and Limonades. He humiliated judges of the underworld, like Ayakos of Garuda, and even confronted gods such as Thanatos and Hades himself. Phoenix's flames are eternal, and Ikki is the ultimate embodiment of fire in the universe of Knights of the Zodiac. Knight number 4, Knight of Fire. If you look in the official records for the series, or in the canonical encyclopedias written by Masami Kurumada, you won't find the Knight of Fire. And do you know why? Because he is an exclusive character from the classic anime, created by Toei Animation, to give more screen time and extend the Sanctuary saga. But don't be fooled into thinking that just because he's a filler character, he's weak. Quite the opposite. The Knight of Fire starred in some of the most desperate battles at the beginning of the series. The story of this warrior is mysterious and dark. He was an exiled mercenary who was taken in and personally trained by Jiggers, the evil and cruel chief of staff of the Sanctuary, who acted under the orders of the false Grandmaster, our dear and troubled Gemini Saga. Jiggers turned this man into a true killing machine, teaching him to channel his Cosmo in the form of infernal fire that could not be extinguished by normal means. The Knight of Fire's gratitude toward Jiggers was so great that his loyalty was blind and unshakable. The moment of glory and terror for this character happens in the classic anime. With the mission to recover the mask of the Sagittarius Goldcloth, he is sent to Japan. There, he simply sets Sari's cabin in the forest on fire, turning the place into a real hell. On Earth, the one who crosses his path is Shun of Andromeda, who was protecting Sari Kido. The battle is suffocating. Shun tries to use his famous chains to defend himself, but the Fire Knight unleashes such intense flames that Andromeda's chains can't completely hold them back. Shun is completely overwhelmed by the relentless heat, and it's at this critical moment when the Fire Knight is about to turn Shun into ashes that the flames suddenly change hands. Rising from the ashes of the battle, the immortal bird emerges and Ikki the Phoenix appears to save his younger brother. The clash between the two fire users is quick but symbolic. The Fire Knight tries to use his full power against Ikki, but the flames of a mythological bird were infinitely superior to fire. As a warrior without a constellation, with the legendary Phoenix Phantom Fist, Ikki destroys his opponent's mind, who ends up succumbing to his own flames and to psychological terror. A tragic death for a character who, even without an official armor among the 88 constellations, left a burning mark in the memory of the oldest fans. And guys, as an honorable mention, we have other knights in Sunset and Omega who use some fire abilities. Besides Jorge of the Furnace in the Time Odyssey saga, who is actually Master Guilt before being controlled by Saga. Did you like this video? Comment so I know, and of course, thank you for watching until the end. See you next time. May your Cosmo burn to infinity.